Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Jake here, and this is a different kind of video than what you guys are normally used to. Some of you might remember a video I made a little while back talking about 5 new superhero games that I think need to happen, and today I'm going to expand on that a little further, but I'm actually not going to do it alone. Who am I joined by today?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm TeladiaPlays from the UK. I'm a YouTube content creator that covers DC and Marvel video games.
Thank you, Teladia, for coming in and joining me today. I definitely appreciate you coming by.
No problem, no problem. I thought, why not do a collaborative video with you, Jake, and to talk about video games and DC and Marvel and all that good stuff.
Right, and this is going to be a video talking about what Marvel characters should have their own games. Now, if you guys want to see a companion video to this where we talk about what DC characters should have their own games, then I would actually want you guys to head over to Teladia's channel, because we actually just did a video talking about that.
Yeah, we did talk about DC video games, and we just talked about 2 different spectrums of DC.
Yeah. I'd say that the fields we covered were very different.
Very different, yeah, and we have very good different reasons why. So,
and I think that's definitely going to be the case for this video too, even though our fields this time are a little bit similar, definitely more similar than was the case in our DC games video. So yeah. I'm going to let you get started with this one. What Marvel character do you think should star in their own video game?
I think Daredevil should have his very own video game, right?
That's a popular one. That's a popular one.
Yeah, it is a popular one, but there is substantial reason. I think Daredevil is owed a video game, and for the fans out there that know that Matt Murdock is a popular IP, so considering he is getting popular back in the public eye now, I think it's about time he gets his own game, right? Considering with the whole MCU reviving the Daredevil TV show and everything, and he's coming more and more popular now through that, it's like now it's a good opportunity for them to say, oh, why don't we make a Daredevil game? So
I think you could definitely, do something good there. And in that video that I talked about, where I talked about video games for superheroes that need to happen, Daredevil was one of the characters I mentioned. And I mentioned that you could have it work kind of similar to the Arkham games' rhythm-based combat, and even incorporate a similar detective mode like you had for Batman. It could be like a radar sense for Daredevil. And to where you could detect someone's heartbeat to determine how close or far they are from you. And because Daredevil's a lot more of a agile character, he would be a lot more flexible when swinging around on the billy club and such. That could be his grapple function. And I even referenced too, if you guys remember back in the day, the Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects game, Daredevil was one of the playable characters in that one, and even had some levels where he was going across the rooftops in New York. And I feel like that could be an easy blueprint for how to make a Daredevil game. Just something you want to go with. Is there a specific developer that you would want to see tackle a game for Daredevil?
Yeah, I do have a developer actually that I would love to see tackle Daredevil. I would like to see either Remedy or Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch.
Yeah. Sucker Punch. I know they're the people who made the Ghost of Tsushima video game, but they've got the stealth down. So if you think about it, the stealth takedown and stuff like that would be pretty cool for a Daredevil video game.
I think so, definitely. I know some people out there, might say that they want to see Insomniac tackle that one because of not only their past 3 Spider-Man games that they've made, but also the Wolverine game that's supposedly coming next year. And I know a lot of people might want to see that, and I can see the logic behind that to an extent, but that would be the combat system. I feel like would work very differently, because you wouldn't see like so many. You have all those web abilities for Spider-Man or both Spider-Man across the 3 games. You wouldn't really have that for Daredevil. It would just be the billy club and his hand-to-hand combat, which is likely what they're going to stray more towards with the Wolverine game coming, because his combat is a lot more minimalistic too. But you could have it be in that built-in Marvel world, because they've established Matt Murdock in that world already. So whether they want to have it connected or not.
You could do that, but I think because don't forget, Sucker Punch is also a PlayStation Studio video.
Yes, they are.
So if you think about it, they could also make a Marvel video game, and yes, Sucker Punch can make like a mature kind of Daredevil game, right? I think that could,
from the Netflix show, I think you can go the mature angle with Daredevil and have audiences connect with it.
Yeah, you could do that, and I think as well, what also would be brilliant is to have somebody new play Matt Murdock. You're bringing Charlie Cox to play Matt Murdock, but have somebody different, somebody that we've never heard of before, right?
Like Yuri Lowenthal was to Spider-Man.
Yeah, like Yuri for Spider-Man. Yeah. So you would have to have somebody new. I was actually thinking Brian Descartes from Detroit Become Human becoming Matt Murdock. I think that'd be pretty cool, right? He's actually pretty cool. He was I forgot his name, Connor from Detroit Become Human.
Okay.
So if you take some of the aspects from that, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Okay, that's. I wasn't thinking of that one. I wasn't thinking of that voice, but that could definitely fit Daredevil.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's currently he hasn't done any video recording or anything like that, but I can see it. I can just see it, and you know, he has got the look for Matt Murdock.
Right.
You know, he's got the look there. So.
Yeah, I think he definitely has the look, and you know, based on what you've heard from him in the Detroit Become Human game, I think it could be, you know, easy to do Matt Murdock from him. Somebody else that I think to be able to do a good job with the voice is Ben Diskin. Actually, I think would be a good one. If you guys watched Codename Kids Next Door back in the day, or Spectacular Spider-Man, he actually did the voice of Venom in that cartoon series. He was Eddie, and not only do I think he kind of has the look for Matt, that, you know, lower register to his voice that you would need as Daredevil, but also kind of the lighthearted nature that you would want for, you know, more of Matt's everyday persona. I think he could do a good job at both.
Yeah, 110% agree with you there. I think as well, this game has to be worked from the ground up, right?
Right.
You can't do a Daredevil game like take it from inspiration. I would say take inspirations from, you know, Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima with the stealth stuff, but work it from the ground up though, right?
Yeah, there's not that many, you know, there's not that many existing Daredevil properties that you could take inspirations from. I mean, like I said, you could use the gameplay from Marvel Nemesis as a base blueprint or a proof of concept, but if you're going to base the gameplay from any Marvel game property, then I would actually say I would not go from the Insomniac Spider-Man route. I would actually go from the Beanox Amazing Spider-Man game route, because that gameplay was a lot more, you know, fluid, a lot more minimalistic. It had a unique way of utilizing the environment. You know, not to say that the Insomniac games didn't, but I feel like their system just flowed a lot better for what you would expect for somebody like Daredevil. You know, obviously a lot of people would criticize that system for being, you know, being Arkham City light, because, you know, it came out the year after that game, and combat systems were similar, but I think it worked for Spider-Man, and it could definitely work for Daredevil too.
Yeah, definitely. I'd also I would also put this out there. I would say PlayStation 6, Xbox, the next Xbox console would be the idealistic choice for the Daredevil game, right? I don't see it being a this generation console. That's what I think personally. I would also say I wouldn't money hat it to Sony. I would say, look, have it on PC as well as a day one launch. So have it on PlayStation, but also have it on PC. That way people can explore that. But I would also say take inspirations from some of the comics. You know, some of the Daredevil comics out there that I haven't read many Daredevil comics or read entire comics, but I would say even Ultimate from the Ultimate universe. Take some cherry picks from there, from Daredevil, or even because the recent Daredevil, the recent Ultimate universe has been rebooted, correct? So, so they have rebooted that. If you think about it, having Daredevil as a character from that universe, take cherry picking from that, cherry picking from some of the other comics from the 90s or the 80s from Daredevil, which were popular back then, taking inspiration from them and then putting it into a video game, I think would actually work.
I think you could definitely do that. You know, there are a lot of different characters in the Daredevil world you can include. You know, obviously a common one you would jump to is including somebody like Elektra. Then you have people like Bullseye, people like the Kingpin. I think what would be really cool is if you saw, you know, bits of his origin, how he came to be, and you got to see somebody like Stick within the world. And something I think would actually be really cool is there was a run back in the days. It was around, I say back in the days, it's only like 5 years old. It was from 2019 to 2022, The Devil's Reign. So it's split into a couple different arcs. You have Devil's Reign, Woman Without Fear, and then the Devil's Reign Omega. And that one really put Matt to the test in terms of, you know, not only his physical limits, but also it, you know, questioned his own morality whenever he's put in a spot where he's framed for murder. I don't want to spoil where the run goes because I would actually recommend people read it, but you could take story beats from there definitely and make a really compelling character study.
Yeah, definitely. So
before we move on to the next character, are there any last points you want to get in for Daredevil?
No, I think that's pretty much what I'm going to say about Daredevil, because I think I've pretty much summed up what I think about the character and what I would like to see from the character and whatnot. So,
all right. So we're going to go on not so much the opposite side of the spectrum because, you know, this character is not so far split like our other characters in our DC video were. But you talked about Daredevil, and the one that I'm going to go into here is someone who, like Daredevil, has had a film tie-in game, but it wasn't all that good. And that's Ghost Rider. And I feel like there's so many different inspirations that you could take from a Ghost Rider video game in, you know, like just from, you know, the traversal system on the bikes, the combat with the guns and the chains, the world building, you know, all the different demons and stuff that you could encounter. I think you could take inspiration from like the Bloodborne Souls games for your sort of combat or world building. I think those would be great things that you could take inspiration from, because, you know, if you guys have played, you know, the Dark Souls games and Bloodborne, you guys know that they are, you know, they're very like you're just tearing through buckets and buckets of enemies, but there's also nice bits of world building, and there's a rich narrative in there that I really feel like somebody like Ghost Rider could benefit, because he's still not that known to the wide public outside of, you know, the movies with Nicolas Cage and the, you know, small amount of people that watched the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show back in the day, but that also wasn't even Johnny Blaze. And to that point, Johnny Blaze is the main Ghost Rider that I would stick with in this universe. I would not do Robbie Reyes. I like Robbie Reyes as a character, but I think Johnny Blaze needs to be the main focus in this. And there are a lot of different ones, a lot of different Ghost Rider comic runs that you could take inspiration from. You know, one that you guys might not know of is called Life's Blood. That was back in the early 90s. And that one really takes the spirit of vengeance. And even though that's more, that's a Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, that's not Johnny Blaze, but you could take, you know, elements from that where he sees what happens whenever the blood of his innocent sister comes in, and he gets seized by the spirit of vengeance, and then he feels kind of burdened to protect the innocent as Ghost Rider after that. Another popular one that you could do, which actually had a game based off of it, was the Midnight Suns from back in the 90s. It's another one you could do too, because then you brought in characters like Blade and Morbius, and they went up against Lilith. And you could bring in characters like Blade and Morbius if you want to. They would definitely fit very own, just to show that it's not a self-contained universe, that it's lived in a little bit. Characters like Blade and Morbius would definitely fit. And I think if you would want to do that, I think Howard Mackey would be an essential piece of writing talent to bring in, because he was one of the writers on that story, and I think we'd be able to make a lot of good character interactions. You got much input for what we could see in the Ghost Rider game? Do you have much passion for the character, by any chance?
I'm indifferent about Ghost Rider.
Okay. Yeah, I know that he's definitely not for everybody, and he's, like I said, hasn't had the best exposure to the general public because those movies did not do great. But there's a lot of different games that he's been in, not necessarily as the star, but he was in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, or at least the first one, and the third one too, I believe. And he was in the Midnight Suns game. Of course, he had his own games based off the films, which, like I said, weren't great. And there's a GBA game too, but I wouldn't really use any of those previous appearances as a reference point, because as great as the Ultimate Alliance games are, they don't really work as the definitive gameplay experience for any one character, because the games are team-based. They're intended for co-op, things like that. So I would definitely go from the ground up as far as something like that goes. You have it to where you've kind of reinvented a gameplay system. You could take inspiration from the Borns and Souls games. I think you would definitely have to go with a mature rating on it, because if you try to stick it to teen audiences, then you're going to limit the true power of what Ghost Rider can do. Like we said with Daredevil, you can go mature with that character and have audiences still connect with it in a good way. And another factor that I think people might want to take into consideration is the traversal. Like going around on the motorcycle, things like that. That could be a really fun way just to get around the map. And he's had other vehicles in the past, not just that one motorcycle. So there could be like a system there to where, like, say there's some sort of currency or in-game points that you earn, kind of like how you unlock skins for Spider-Man in his game. You could earn similar things to purchase vehicles and weapons for Ghost Rider in his.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's different ways you could do a Ghost Rider. Like traversal wise, you could have the horse.
The horse, yeah.
You could do the car if you wanted to. That would kind of be a nod to Robbie Reyes if you wanted to go down that route.
Yeah, because there are several different vehicles that he has. He has the Panhead Chopper, that was kind of that was like a mirror from the Captain America chopper back from Easy Rider. So if they wanted to include that in as kind of like a tongue-in-cheek reference, I'm sure they would probably do that. They would probably incorporate the vehicle you saw in the movies, or at least a version of it. Preferably the first one, because the bike from the second movie looked really bad. But no, I think it would just be really cool to finally see that character brought to life in a video game. And it could be, even have some elements of like Resident Evil horror games too, because there's a lot of, this is a joke, fear factor. There's a lot of joke that you could get out of a game like that, or joke. Well, what did I say? A lot of horror factor that you could get out of that. You could really terrify your audience. If you're just going through like narrow hallways or places where there's a lot of demons infested, and you could have a lot of moments for jump scares. Not to say that you necessarily need to have jump scares there just for the sake of having them, but they could add to the environment. They could be a unique part of the world. Yeah,
definitely. I think as well, just to add to that, I think you need to also include the vampire, the person who gave the soul, like took the soul away from the Ghost Rider himself. I think he'd be the main core character. I think should be in the game.
Right. Yeah, you would need characters like that. you could bring in somebody like Lilith, somebody like Zarathos, who was the entity that had been tied to Ghost Rider. And like I said, you could bring in other Marvel characters like Blade and Morbius to show that it's a lived-in world. And I cannot pronounce this character's name. Centurious, I believe is how you say it, was the character that Johnny's soul was captured in. But then, other people would think that if they brought in a character like Mephisto into it, would he be the main one that takes over as the villain, or would they have it be him? Would they include somebody like Blackheart, kind of like what they did in the movies? And that's the thing. There's not really, whenever people think of certain Marvel characters, there's like already a predetermined rogues list of certain characters. But since Ghost Rider is not really that well known, they could really dig from a lot of comics and still, I think, resonate with audiences just if they had a good narrative around who they picked.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would definitely be a good way to go about it.
Yeah, definitely. But I've got to ask you this, right? Who would be the developers?
The developers, I was thinking about this too. And I don't want to say this just because I made comparisons to these games, but I think From Software would be a really good person to make these games. The people who were behind Bloodborne, I think they've got their system that they made for gameplay. You wouldn't have to copy that system for Ghost Rider, but they could build off of what they've already done to show inspirations from it to make their own unique gameplay system for him. I think that could really work. And they haven't done things like motorcycle traversal before, but I feel like that's something they could definitely incorporate, to kind of show their differences from the Bloodborne style, and just to where it's not just a blatant ripoff of that. Is there anybody you got in mind?
I'm just trying to think. I don't think anything comes to mind, to be honest with you, Jake.
No worries. I know you said you were kind of indifferent on the character, so...
Yeah, I'm a bit indifferent on the character, to be honest with you, so...
No worries. But no, I think both of the characters that you and I picked have a lot of great potential, and they would just be so different. I think you would have to stick mature ratings on both of these. I mean,
yeah,
you could get away with T ratings, I suppose, but because if they would, if they would go to T ratings, it would obviously sell better. But I think if you really wanted to do the characters justice, I think slapping a mature rating on it would be the way to go.
Definitely. So, but yeah, I think this. It's been great discussing Daredevil with you.
I think so too, and it was. I hope I was able to kind of give you some Ghost Rider knowledge too.
Yeah,
maybe an inspiration to go read a comic or two.
Yeah, definitely. I'll pick up a Ghost Rider comic and check them out. And,
I would recommend it, and I just want to thank you guys for tuning into this video. I want to thank Teladia for coming on with me today to talk about Marvel characters who should star in their own game. Teladia, where can they find your video, talking about, or we were talking about the DC characters, and just where can they find you in general? What sort of content do you do?
So you guys can check me out on YouTube at TeladiaPlays. That's on YouTube. What sort of content I do is I do reaction videos, I do rumored videos, I do comic book discussion videos, streams. So I do streams like that, reactions and stuff like that. I do a mixture of everything. I also do news videos as well, like in terms of gaming news. I cover that. So, and that's all on YouTube. If you want to check me out on social media, which is on X, which is at TeladiaPlays_, that you can check me out there.
I'll be having all of his social medias pop up on the screen right now, so you guys can see that and go follow him for yourself.
Yeah, so guys, make sure you do do subscribe to Jake as well, because he's a great dude. Because what he's done has been amazing stuff. You're missing out on the stuff that he's done recently, so I'm just putting that out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming on here to do this with me.
No problem at all.
And guys, if you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to smash that like button. If you have any thoughts or comments, if you agree with us, or if you think we're completely stupid, let us know down below in the comments. If you want to share this video with your friends, definitely hit that share button. Hit that notification bell so you are immediately notified when a video is released. And if you guys want to see more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. Peace out.